I want to tell you the story of my fate. We lived in a small wooden house in a small village. Mom, Dad, and I, their little son. I had my own room in the house. I had my own lavas on the lake, which, at my request, my father put in early spring, without being afraid to intercede. Was his cat a clever one? He could jump into a potato pit 3 meters deep to catch a mouse there, and in one jump be upstairs. I had everything a little boy should have and more. Now, I certainly understand, but at that age, I did not realize that my mom and dad were drinking. They didn't hurt me, they kissed me and tried to please me. Apparently, not everything was so smooth in their marriage, and they found the solution in alcohol. My happiness stopped one day right on my birthday. Instead of a holiday, right in the morning, we were waiting for an ambulance because Mom, to celebrate the holiday for the first time, all drank. I only remember how it turned yellow. Such a holiday is hard to forget. My mother was taken to the city to the hospital. Terrible days of waiting came. Nothing pleased me, nothing. My own room, not lavas on the lake, not gifts from my parents. 5 days later, a neighbor came to tell us that my mother had passed away. Father said to go to the lawn to look at the sky as soon as possible. Mom was supposed to fly there, her soul, and that I can see her, and I have to wave my hand to her. So I then sat on the tall grass all day looking into the clouds in search of my mother. These were difficult times, but what happened next in my life turned out to be much more challenging. 6 months later, my father, returning from the city, came not alone but with some woman. This woman immediately gave me a slap in the face and scolded me for something. Father started drinking with her almost every day. Dad stopped building masks for me on the lake. He gave my room for Olga's needs, and they moved me to the common room so that I could be in sight. Otherwise, God knows what I can do to retire in my room. My father seemed to have stopped paying attention to me, as if I had ceased to exist for him. I think this is all. Olga used to say to me, I even somehow heard that Olga directly tells her father, once again tipsy, that I need to dress me somewhere. She wants her own child. A reminder of the past, a reminder that it was different with Dad. Now it all seems to me the delirium of a madman. Apparently, a funny drink completely about soap and a head. Oksana offered to do this with a child. I got scared, then secretly made my way to the neighbor's house, and, having found the social welfare number in the yellow telephone directory, called there. I just wanted help, and I was scared. The woman answered the phone. Hello, help. They wanted to get rid of me. Quietly, I modestly, and I'm ashamed of my voice, I said, state your last name, first name, and full address of residence, pronounced by the woman from the guardianship authorities. The voice was stern. I was scared and hung up. But now I think, who taught these aunts to talk like that? First, you need to enter into the confidence of the child, and only then ask what his name is and where he lives. Then Aunt Zinga grabbed me. It was her house where I climbed. She heard someone talking like that right behind her ear. I was taken home. Aunt Zina was a kind person, but she did not know my situation. Having told everything that had heard to Olga, she put me in the worst position that could be imagined. Olga didn't scold me. She just smiled looking at me. That's all. I thought then I was finished. But 3 days passed. No one punished me or touched me. I thought maybe this was what I came up for. Going to my father was useless. He listened to straw and thought that I was a very bad child. On the 4th day after the incident with the phone, early in the morning, Olga woke me up and screamed that I should get dressed urgently and that we were going for a walk. I obeyed, but I could not help but obey, and was a modest little boy, not 10 years old even. We walked in silence along the old road. I visited that road when my mother was still alive. We walked there. It led to the railways on which an old freight train drove once a week. We walked in silence, and when Olga reached the tie, she took out a rope and ordered me to lie down. I did. She tied my hands, legs, and she did not break the branches of a tree and covered me with them. The train will not stop because of some branches. Soon you'll be with your mom. Just lie there and wait, Olga said. I lay there crying and waiting for the land to rise in price. Well, I think I've already closed my eyes on the train and began to prepare myself to meet my mother. How good everything was in my childhood life. Why did you leave Mom? Why did you drink it? Why did you leave me alone? Why Father became so crypt? Why? So many questions. But for some reason, I even ceased to be afraid of the memories of my mother. The train was already near me. I felt that the earth was trembling when I suddenly heard Olga's cry. Opened my eyes, but she put my face to the other side of her. I didn't understand what was happening. I heard only screams of the earth. I began to hear some kind of torment among the screams. Olga's voice began to recede. I felt the breath behind me, like the hot of a steam of the kettle. Something grabbed my back and lifted me like a toy. I saw hooves. I saw that I turned off the railroad. I was carried somewhere deep into the forest. I then rocked a lot. I even fell asleep. Woke up. In addition, a moose sat down right there. In front of me were two huge moose, huge and looking at me. I was not afraid. After lying at such a young age on the railroad bound by my stepmother, apparently fear somewhere among the volatile are afraid. Then lay down right in front of me. It was a hard day then. Oddly enough, I slept that night harder than in the whole year. It was then that I gave vent to feelings and cried. I was hungry, and no one knows where I am in the forest. How to get out of here? However, before I had time to shed enough tears for my cry, the elk returned, bringing mushrooms and moss in their mouths. It was clearly meant for me. I trusted the moss, but I know the mushrooms. I saw my father collected them before, and I know that those are good for food. When they saw that I ate at least something from what they brought, they began to bring me more. They understood that I needed to eat and drink fresh water. For a week, these two moose became my family, but in the form of how I get sick from the rowing diet. The moose made the decision for me. They decided to return me to the village to the people to take care of me. They made it clear that I needed to climb on their back, and did so. By the evening, we were standing near the gate to my house. A moose knocked on it. Apparently, hearing this, the father looked out the window. He ran out and fell to his knees. He had tears like a child's. It turned out that he had not been drinking for a week. He produced and realized that he had lost both Olga and me. He prayed to everyone he could and promised to stop drinking if at least I came back. And so it happened. I came back and even riding a moose. But no one else has ever seen Olga. What did these moose do to her? To be honest, I don't want to know. They changed my life for the better, for which many thanks to them. Now I have become an adult. Father is no longer alive. I sold a house in the village, and I have two bad memories from those places.